more about the EU's position on COVID. I'm joined now by Dave Keating, who's live in Brussels for us. Dave, what else did the EU Health Commissioner have to say today?
Well, she was really sounding the alarm, most specifically about the rising hospital admissions due to COVID. We have had rising cases for about 2 months in Europe, and countries have been tightening their restrictions. But she noted that about half of the cases were in that young category, and that's what explains why there were less hospitalizations and deaths over the last 2 months than there were during that peak in the spring. But lately, we are seeing an increase in hospitalizations, and in some countries, even an increase in deaths. And so she said member states of the EU really need to start increasing their restrictions again. She also warned of COVID fatigue, that citizens are not following the restrictions that are in place. And so governments need to better communicate them and also better enforce them. She said citizens are the last line of defense against this virus, against the risk of a return to the situation we had in the spring. She said everyone desperately wants to avoid the European countries again having to go into lockdowns. It would be devastating for the economy, devastating for people's mental health, and devastating for businesses. But she said unless citizens follow the restrictions that are in place and governments really get serious about increasing restrictions along with the increase in hospitalizations, we are going to be looking at new lockdowns across Europe. So it was a really stark warning that she had today.
Dave, the EU is also trying to harmonize COVID travel restrictions within the European Union itself. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, after Commissioner Kyriakides spoke, we had the head of the European Centers for Disease Control speak. They are trying to get European countries to better coordinate their travel restrictions. They've come out with a map of designating certain zones in Europe, regions, as being green, yellow, red, whether or not they are having a resurgence or not. Basically, what's been happening is different EU countries have been designating zones differently, which didn't really make any sense, because why should a zone be red for one country but yellow for another country? So the EU is really urging all member states to work off of this EU list of zones so that things are more clear for passengers. Airlines and tourism businesses have been pleading with the EU to get a better handle on this, because as countries came out of strict lockdowns this summer and people started traveling, we really saw the chaos that resulted in EU countries not coordinating. Of course, travel is still permitted really only within the EU. People can't be coming in from outside the EU still, except for a small selection of countries. This is concerning intra-EU travel, and the European Commission wants member states to better coordinate again so we don't get a return to that chaotic situation we had in the spring where countries weren't communicating with each other, border closures and things like this. Again, they desperately want to avoid border closures. Nobody wants to go back to that situation we had in the spring. So the overall message is member states, increase your restrictions, coordinate, citizens, follow the rules, and if everybody does this in a coordinated manner, in a responsible manner, we can avoid having to go into another severe lockdown this fall during a second wave.
Dave, thanks for that. France 24's Dave Keating reporting from Brussels.